Trapped on board a cruise ship, Hawaiian shirts at the chef's table, and well, I got a comment with some pretty dire predictions to the future of cruising. Yes, it's Saturday morning, which means it's time for what every cruiser wants. Good Saturday morning, everybody. Chris here with High Seas Cruising, and welcome to today's video and this week's episode of What Every Cruiser Wants. And we are back. We have 3 new cruise comments for you this week. We have someone who very incorrectly understands the rules about getting on and off cruise ships. We have someone who's upset about Hawaiian shirts at the chef's table, and then a cruise prediction. A cruiser, an older cruiser who, well, they don't like the future of cruising. They don't like where cruising is heading. And yeah, they make some predictions that, well, they're pretty outrageous, but you guys will have to check that out when we get to it. So let's get into it. Let's find out. Are these people right? Are these people wrong? Are they speaking for everyone? And ask ourselves the question, is cruising really right for them? Now, we all know there is a lot of false information out there about cruising, the rules of cruising, and some things you can do and not do. There's tons of people out there that put out wrong and false information. I don't understand why people don't check ahead of time with the cruise line themselves and say, hey, is this something I can do? Is this something I cannot do? Before they write in a comment complaining about a rule that, well, does not exist. And had they checked, they probably would have found that out. Why does Carnival have a rule that if a passenger checks in and goes on the ship, that they cannot get off again to spend time in a port like Norfolk? My husband retired from the Navy in 2004. He served 12 years and retired as a chief warrant officer 4. He wants to go to the famous Ready Room bar. We want to check in, drop off our bags in the room because we can, being platinum. We want to get off and go to the bar. I am told on that this is not possible. Why should we be trapped on board? I wager I'm not the only one who wants to do this. Now, I just want to clarify up front, there actually is no rule. You are not trapped on board a cruise ship. Technically, you can check in, drop off your bag in your cabin, and then disembark the ship if you want to. The real thing, the big picture part of this, is that the majority of cruisers, they don't want to do this. They're on the ship. Vacation time has started. They're not looking to check in, get on, and get right back off at their embarkation port because, well, a lot of people come in a day or two early. It's the smart choice to make so you don't risk missing your ship. And yeah, they do things like go to their bar or places they want to visit before they get on the ship. But just to be clear, there's no rule that says you can't do this. You absolutely can do this. So before you write in a comment wanting to know, well, why am I trapped on board the ship? Well, you're not, and had you checked, you probably would have known that. But, just for a little poke and prod here at the end, why do you have to make sure you let everybody know you're platinum? What does that have to do with it? Now, people complaining about dress code on Carnival cruise lines. Look, folks, it's getting old. Carnival has come out and said over and over again, we are the fun ships, the family-friendly ships. We are not going to enforce suits and ties. They're not going to enforce tuxedos and ball gowns, even on formal nights. They've already said no. So if you don't like it, it's not your thing, you don't want to be in the dining room with people who are not dressed in tuxedos, then honestly, Carnival's probably not the cruise line for you, not anymore. It may have used to have been that way, but it's not that way now. But this time it's not even about the formal dining room. This time it's about the chef's table because they think the chef's table should have a formal dress code each and every time. But Carnival's already said no. The chef's table is supposed to be fun and enjoyable and a comfortable experience, and they are not going to require it no matter how much this person wants it. We've done chef's table on 3 different cruise lines. Carnival is the only cruise line that does not have a formal dress code. We just did this on the Mardi Gras. One man was wearing a gross Hawaiian shirt covered in flamingos. His wife was wearing a sleeveless blouse. We certainly never have seen a less formal chef's table. We were the only ones wearing formal attire. A coat and tie standard should be a minimum. Does Carnival not care? So, does Carnival not care about the dress code for chef's table? Well, you know what? I'm going to answer that because Carnival's answered it, but let me give you the easy answer. Does Carnival not care? No, Carnival does not care. And what I mean by that is if you want to show up in formal attire, Carnival doesn't care. If somebody wants to show up in a Hawaiian shirt, Carnival does not care. The only person in this situation that cares is you because you were the only ones that showed up in formal attire and you're upset at everybody else. Do you think the guy in the Hawaiian shirt was looking over at you going, look at this guy here in his fancy formal clothes? Do you think it disturbed him? Do you think it bothered him? Do you think it affected the way his meal tasted? If there are other cruise lines out there that have formal attire for chef's table and that is what you are looking for, then for honestly the last time, go cruise on them. Stop trying to change the vibe of Carnival Cruise Lines just to suit how you feel. There are other options, there are other choices. Instead of trying to fix everybody else, go to one that just suits you. And finally, we have what I assume to be an old-time experienced cruiser, one who cruised back when cruising started. And we all know cruising used to be different then than it is today, particularly Carnival Cruise Lines. Carnival Cruise Lines has changed over the years. They are definitely way less formal. Their whole vibe is different. They've gone from classic style cruising to family friendly fun ships. The days of formal attire are sliding away. If you want to wear it, but it's not required anymore. And part of being family friendships is they want to make cruising available for everybody. They keep their prices as low as they claim they do to keep it available for everybody. And cruising is a very fast growing vacation trend. The number of new cruisers goes up by millions each and every year. But that definitely does not make some old-time cruisers very happy. They don't like the way that Carnival is going. They don't like the current trends. And some of their stuff, and some of the stuff that they mentioned, it is valid, it is true, but they put some pretty dire predictions in here of where Carnival Cruise Lines is going to end up that, honestly, I think that's a little bit ridiculous and far-fetched. Regarding the drugs and brawls and deck chair hogs, when Carnival chose to make cruising more available for everyone by launching always bigger ships with tinier cabins and cutting costs to the bone and keeping fares low, by eliminating many exotic ports of call and adding their own amusement park stops on weekly routes, by replacing the live show bands and steel drum combos with bad country duos and piped in pop, by encouraging or requiring everyone to carry and depend on their phones. When Carnival chose to make cruising almost like a trip to an overcrowded mall, what did they expect would happen? This is just the beginning of everyday life infiltrating the cruise world. Maybe soon we will have assaults, robberies, and political demonstrations and mass shootings to spice up our fun days at sea. The drug-sniffing dogs will come aboard with us and their growling handlers to patrol the decks. We old-time cruisers will be the only ones to remember how special this used to be. All right, some pretty dire predictions there. And I do want to know, cruise lines have changed, the vibes have changed. They have to go with the times. But is it really so much that the cruise lines have changed, or is it some of the people that come on board and cruise now? which one of them really makes the biggest difference between how cruising was and how cruising is now? Now, of course, it's not just Carnival Cruise Lines that has drugs being brought on board the ship. It's not just Carnival that fights happen. It's definitely not Carnival that has just chair hogs. All of the cruise lines got a little bit of everything. So it's not changes made by Carnival, not when it's happening to all of the cruise lines. Again, is it the cruise lines or is it the people? And are the cruise lines really wrong for making cruising available to everyone? Should it just be for the elitist to go out and cruise? Should your everyday people not be allowed to go on a cruise vacation because you don't like the way they cruise? Are they perfect? No, but there's some experienced cruisers out there who've been cruising for years, definitely not perfect too. You may not like the fact that there's a chair hog, but good God, that doesn't give you the right to be an entitled jerk off about it either. So you can get bad behavior from experienced cruisers just as well as you can a new cruiser. There's been changes to entertainment. There's been changes to shows. Yes, there has been cost cutting measures, especially since the restart of cruising. We've seen that on all of the major mainstream cruise lines. Again, not just Carnival. But what did Carnival expect would happen? Well, they are booking at 100% plus capacity on board their ships. Their ships are full day after day, week after week, booked through 2025, bookings in 2026 already selling out. So I think exactly what they expected to happen is what's happening, and people are choosing to cruise and are booking cruises. Bookings seem to show that that's accurate. Is there things for them to work on? Absolutely. Do some things need to change on the ships? Absolutely. But is it ruined because more people can cruise? More people have access to cruising? And no, I don't think so. Maybe that just brings variety to cruising. Maybe that brings new experiences and new people to meet from all around the world. And yes, there are some folks out there that look, cruising isn't for them and they probably deserve every amount of lifetime banning they get. But that's definitely not everybody, and that's definitely not the majority. But let's look at the predictions of where their Carnival Cruise Lines is headed. Are they really headed for assaults, robberies, political demonstrations, mass shootings? Mass shootings on a cruise ship. That's where you think cruising is headed? That's a little bit excessive over you don't like the way that things are changing and becoming on Carnival Cruise Lines. Look, it used to be different. You remember how it used to be different. You miss how it used to be. Get that, understand that. Some people don't like change, don't want change. They want to go back to the way it was. Unfortunately, the reality of life, the reality of the world is this is how it is. This is how it's going to be. They're a company, they're a business. They're going to want to get more and more people on the ships. And if you are looking for a particular style of cruising that you were not getting from Carnival, said it before, saying it again, said it in this video. Perhaps there are other cruise lines you should look at that will suit you better. But yeah, come on. Do we really need predictions of assaults, robberies, political demonstrations, and mass shootings to get the point across that you don't like the way things are changing? And that is going to be our video for today. But what do you guys think? Are they right? Are they wrong? Should passengers do a little bit of research before they write in comments claiming they are trapped on board the cruise ship? Should the chef's table on Carnival Cruise Lines have a formal dress attire? Or is there really anything wrong with the fact that there was a guy wearing a Hawaiian shirt and his wife wearing a sleeveless blouse? Does that really affect your chef table experience? And finally, what do you think about this guy's predictions, his thoughts on Carnival cruising, of where it started, where it is now, and where it may go in the future? Let me know in the comments below. Now, if you've enjoyed today's video, do me a favor and hit that like button. If you haven't done so yet, do me a favor and hit subscribe. It is free to do so. Helps our channel grow. Let you know anytime we put out a new video. Hope everyone out there is having a really great day. And like always, we will see you out on the high seas.